And I don't think I can go into all the details, but I'm gonna try. Okay, so we was at this little gathering, and everybody was drinking wine, and there was these women. They kept kissing each other. You know, they was drinking their wine. I guess it was like a wine tasting event, and they just kept. I noticed that they kept kissing each other. You know, just kissing. You know, everybody. You know, and it was weird. And I'm like, ugh, I'm never drinking wine again. I was with a class, and there was this guy. We was all sitting down, and there was this foreign guy, and well, at first, like, I was looking through, I think, a microscope or something, or some binoculars, and we were seeing what was in his hand because he was going into this building, and the place was, I think it was Papa John's. Um, the guy had a box in his hand, and he was like, well, he's just making a delivery. I was like, no, he has a box in his hand, meaning that he's going in there with some Papa. So then we was like, I was like, cause I had a Papa John's box in my hand too, and I didn't know where it came from. So then he came out of there looking aggravated or something. I'm like, well, maybe this is the Papa John's box that maybe it got sent to the wrong address. So I don't know how he seen us over there, but he wound up seeing us, and I was holding up the box. So he came in our direction. So I wound up going down there, and he was like, well, that isn't for us. Um, I was like, so why would you come over here when I'm waving in the air? And then he was like, you look familiar. And I was like, how do I look familiar? And he said, didn't I remember seeing you somewhere. And he started explaining Orlando or something like that. I'm like, Florida? He was like, yeah, I remember seeing you from Florida. And all the girls start coming towards me, and he was like, well, how they know that? How he's lying? How he know it's you? And I was like, what was I wearing? He was like, you was wearing a bathing suit. And I was like, I was like, so what kind of bathing suit? Explain to me exactly what bathing suit I was wearing. So he said I was wearing a two-piece, and he wound up explaining in detail exactly the bathing suit I was wearing. I'm like, wow. He did, like, he does remember it was me because it was my bathing suit. Um, so then I'm just like, well, I don't know, I was just so amazed that he knew it was me, and he just explained everything the right way. Um, like, he explained everything that I was wearing. And then it kind of get blurry after that. Um, so then I guess he stood there for a minute, and this where it gets funny, because I guess the people, the class that I was with, they had like these powers or something. And one of the girls got really, really jealous. Like, she got mad at the fact that he knew who I was. And I was like, wow, after all these years, like, I'm grown now. You remember me from 14 years old. I'm like, wow. So she got jealous. And he was very masculine. Like, he was a male. And I'm just like, a few minutes later, he wound up with a chest with breasts. I'm like, what the heck? What just happened? I'm like, I know you seen that. Like, I'm asking my friend, I'm like, I know you seen this guy he was masculine. He had a male chest. How do he got breasts now? And I guess one of the girls that was with us made transformed his chest into breast because she was so jealous and angry. So then that kind of just, that made him mad, and he was like, he kind of just was like, brushing me aside, was like, I'm about to handle this because they just, turned my chest into breast. So, so that was kind of funny. And then later on, we wound up going to this I guess it was like a amusement type park, and we had to basically model or something. So me and my class, we wound up going to being in this competition where we had to go through this slide, and we wind up falling into, the slide with the water. Go through the slide and you land in water. So we went through the slide and we landed in water, and then we wound up, I wound up getting out the slide, and we did that. And then after that, we went to this. Oh, and then we wound up, we had to go cross over to this building. So in order to cross over through this building, we had to go through this slide. And it was like, well, you can go on top, but it's dangerous because you might not make it. Or you can go on the inside, but the inside opens up. The inside opens up to where you can fall regardless. So I'm like, I'm gonna go on top because it's more, I can grip the sides to where I can actually, you know, if I do, if I do let go, there's another grip where I can catch myself. So, but the inside is like, there's nothing to catch you if you do fall. So it's like going from the inside, it's just that space where you're going to fall or you're going to go through. There's no, and a grip, you can just grip it all the way through. So yeah, I wound up going there. I wound up going on the outside while some other people didn't follow. They're like, no, we go on the inside, you crazy. So I went from the outside, and I wound up making it like all the way down the slide, and the slide was going from one city to another. So it was a long, long slide. So I'm gripping, so I went through, but we didn't know it went from one city to the other. It was just going to the next building. So we all went through the slide, and I wind up finishing it all the way through, and by the end of the slide, I'm like, where am I? I'm in a whole different city. What the heck? I was so confused. I'm like, how am I in a whole nother city? So then, I think my light just came on by itself. Oh no. Okay, so I'm gonna try to. Okay, I'm gonna still continue. Okay, so we wound up going to another city. We all split up because we didn't know this was gonna happen. So I made it to the end, and I'm in a whole nother city, and I'm looking for my class. I'm like, where's my class? I'm like, so I'm asking everybody, where are you from? Where are you from? And they're all telling me that they're from a different city. I'm like, okay, so this is cool as long as we in Ohio. So I'm like, is y'all in Ohio? I'm like, well, I didn't really ask Ohio. I'm like, well, how are you enjoying Ohio? Just to kind of, you know, make it seem like I wasn't lost. And it was like, oh yeah, it's cool, but we trying to get back to our city or something like that. So I'm like, all right, cool. We still in Ohio. So then I'm going. It's like a big place. It looked like a mall, but there's also like stations in it to where you're going from city to city. So I'm walking through, and this guy comes towards me, and he's like, you're very beautiful, this and that, start complimenting me. And then he wound up pressing me against the wall with my legs up. And I'm like, hold on, he must just be playing or something. Like, I didn't know what he was doing. But he pressed me against the wall, my legs up, and then he wound up grabbing me, like taking me from the wall. And he was like, well, our train is about to come. I'm about to you're coming with me. So he got me in his arms and I could not break free. Like he's literally taking me to the train to a different location, trying to basically abduct me, I guess. And then another guy, I guess he was watching the whole time and he wound up coming towards me and he wound up fighting the guy off and getting me and releasing me. And I think this guy was with my group of my class, or he was a student. I think he was a student in one of my classes, so we found each other. So I think he wound up sticking with me the whole time. So once he released me from the guy that was trying to abduct me. So then after that, we're walking around the building trying to find everybody else. But he wound up going somewhere else. So he didn't stick with me the whole time. So I'm standing there and I start to panic, like tears start going from my eyes, and then I wound up seeing my aunt and my cousin. And it was like, that girl looks like Aisha. But I'm not gonna say it's her, so we're gonna keep walking. But then they couldn't they kept staring, kept looking. Because, well, they kept looking and then they was like, that gotta be her. And then they finally got confirmation when I started walking towards them. It was like, what are you doing here? What? Like, they was confused, but they just, they was like, just come on. Like, I wound up going with them to a certain extent. Like, they was there because her husband is like African, so he goes to visit his family, so they was there for a reason. So then I'm walking with them, but then I start feeling kind of weird about me leaving. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to stay and I'm going to go find the rest of my class. And it was like, are you sure? I'm like, yeah. Like, you sure? Because I think your mom is looking for you. I'm like, I'm sure. So I wound up staying. And eventually, as soon as they left, these three little girls came towards me. And they looked like a friend of mine from, like, a childhood friend. I'm like, these must be her sisters or something. So these little girls wound up guiding me all the way to my class. Like before then, before we got to the class, we noticed an accident. So we noticed that the whole slide that I was going down, no one made it through. Like there was an accident of a whole bunch of dead bodies and an ambulance and stuff like that. I'm like, wow. So they showed me that, and then we wound up going to find the rest of the class, and one of the classmates was a schoolmate, like one of the girls that I used to know, a best friend that I had in the past. So we're going to look for the rest of, well, they're guiding me to the rest of the class, and we made it. So we made it there, and we wound up finding the girl, the classmate that was once my best friend, and I was like, I pulled her aside. Well, at first she was amazed. She was like, oh, we found her or something like that. She found us, or she made it back. And then I wound up grabbing her aside and I'm like, do you have sisters? And she was like, yeah. I was like, you have three? And then that's when she got quiet. I'm like, well, these girls guided me here, and two of them, it's three of them. And I was like, is one of them alive? And she was like, yeah. I was like, oh, so that must be the one in the back of them. But the two in the front looked just like her. I'm like, do you got two other sisters? Like, the other two other sisters passed away or something? And she was like, yeah. And then she was like, you're scaring me, panicking and stuff like this. Like, I'm about to stop talking to you. Don't, like, what are you talking about? And I was like, well, these three girls guided me back to y'all. But the other two looks exactly like you. And I was like, I started telling her their names. And she was like, oh, and then that's when she started looking at me like weird. And she was confirming. She was like, yeah, I had a sister named her. And this sister, yes, those are my other two sisters, but they passed. And I was like, well, they guided me here, and they're right here. And then that's when she was like, you know what? I'm not talking to you, until she ran off. I'm like, well, that was the end of that. But, the little girls got me back to them, and they wind up disappearing after that. So then the lady was standing there with the camera. I'm like, why didn't you just turn on the camera and video if you was going to video? And she was like, well, it's dead. I was like, oh. So then we wind up leaving there, and I noticed that, we wind up going to this thing, because my son was with me. I later find out that he was on one of the slides as well. So I'm that's when I started getting worried, because a lot of people didn't make it. So then, we wind up going to. There was this birthday thing on the way there. There was this birthday thing, and it was like, well, we went in there because I guess one of the girls in my class had a birthday. So we went into the place, and it was all set up for birthdays. There was balloons everywhere. And we made it all the way to like the back of the place where the tables were set up. But there wound up being like this guy wound up taking one of the I guess it was a hot chocolate and throwing it into some other guy's face, and it started this whole, everybody broke out fighting. So then they said it's about to get wild. Everybody just start running to the entrance. So we all start running, and as we're running, everybody just fighting, grabbing people, and then it wind up being guns, and people start killing, people start shooting, and we wind up making it to the front where it was more safe. So we wind up running through the whole building because it's actually starting to get like really crazy. Like they start chasing everybody through the whole building and killing and this and that. And, I feel like a lot of people was like agents or something like that, because they wind up like their shoes turned into freaking, there was wheels on the bottom of their shoes, and they got out fast. They was pulling out all these gadgets and this and that. I'm like, what the heck is going on? So we wound up making it to the front, but then I wasn't me. I turned it to somebody else, and we wound up getting into a car. And it's like I was there, like my awareness was there, my conscience was there, but I wasn't an actual person there. So I'm watching this scenery go on or take place where, a little girl got in a car, but I guess that little girl was a family member, and her mom was chasing after the car, and she was like, "You're not about to get away from my daughter, with my daughter." And they wound up shooting at the car and, trying to catch the car. And I told the little girl to get down at the ground, the base of the car, like underneath the seat. So I'm like, get down there so that you don't get, like, none of these bullets don't get you. So she wound up getting down there, and then another woman wound up getting on the floor, kind of, get, because I guess, I don't know, she must have caught on to what I said. So a woman got down there as well. So then they're just sitting there like, it was a family member. They didn't know the family member was the one that took the daughter. So then she's shooting at them, and she's like, I'm not about to, shoot at them because she's my family. So they wind up swerving and this and that, trying to get away, and wind up wrecking, and the car wound up going into the water. So then they're down at the bottom, and as the car is sinking, they see these mermaids at the bottom of the ocean. And these mermaids are blood feeders. So then, now not only do they gotta escape the car, but they got to actually escape these mermaids as well. So they wind up escaping them, like getting all. So I guess some people that was kind of keeping the mermaids down there wind up baiting them back down so they wouldn't focus too much on us going up. So they was baiting the mermaids down. They did catch, well, they was baiting the mermaids down with other dead bodies. Like there was these dead women. They was guiding the mermaids down with the dead bodies of women. And the people that was in the car, they all wound up making it back up there. So then after they got out of there, I returned back into the scene where we was walking back. So after they got out of there, I was actually with the class. So I returned back to my original, form. So I was walking back to the class with the class, and there was this person. Oh, there was this incident. Well, there was this person that we came in contact with, but I think that was after. Okay, so there was this person that I knew, a friend of mine, and she was telling me how, her sibling didn't make it, and he suffocated, and it was an accident, but she was still waiting, there to get more information about it. And then she was like, and they was like, anybody you don't see here has made it home already. So I noticed that my son wasn't there. So I'm like, okay. They confirmed that he did return back home. So I'm like, okay, well, I just got to get back home now. So I kind of, that worry went down, but I was still grieving with the friend, and I was just standing there with her, and she wound up kissing me. And then that's when somebody else came into the picture, and this guy, this, I guess a security guard got me out, and they left, like we left, and there was this guy in a car with me, and they said, y'all go out, y'all got a half an hour, and then y'all return. When y'all return, it'll be time for y'all to go home. So they gave us a car, and they said within this 30 minutes, this half an hour, you can do anything you want to. So I was like, well, I'm about to record, and record us going and trying all these different foods. So in the midst of us going to it, like there was this McDonald's that, was different from our McDonald's. So we going out, and we're on his way to the two different, like that McDonald's and different fast food places. On the way there, this girl, I guess this car beside us talking about they want to race. I'm like, is we going to the food place? He was like, yeah. And then later on, I find out this guy is about to start racing them. So we raced them, and our car actually turned into like a dragon. So we're racing on this dragon now. Like we're actually inside the dragon, so we're protected. So then we race, and we wound up getting in an accident, this and that, but we all survived by the end of the race because, we were inside the dragon. So then we wound up getting out of the dragon by the end of the race. I'm like, see, we're 45 minutes late. We ain't got time to record. We have to actually go back there. He's like, we're gonna make it. We're gonna make it. So then he wound up calling the guy, the security guard, and telling him what was going on. And he was like, all right, that's fine. Just get back as soon as you can. So we wound up going back, and we wound up being in this building again. And there was some girls with us while we were walking, and he wound up kissing me, and I guess he became my new spouse or something. So then we wound up walking back, and then we seen this woman that I knew, but she was famous. And I'm like, she don't look familiar to me. But the other girl was like, yeah, you know her. So we wave, and everybody looking at us like, wow, you know her. So we went over there, and I find out that this person is actually related to me, like a family member. And she's telling me what's going on and how we're related, but eventually we had to return back to our class. So we returned back to our class, and then after that, I think that's it. We started walking past, and we actually seen Fantasia, or was it Fantasia or Heather Headley? We seen her, and then I think that was it. We wound up and then I woke up at a certain part. It was like an emotional part, and that part I can't get to that part. I don't know what that part was, but it was an emotional part, and I wound up waking up. So yeah, that was my dream. Like, comment, subscribe, be notified, share at your own free will to show you care. And I will talk to y'all another time. Bye.